Hi, welcome back to our channel. Can you all believe it's fall already? Today we'll be making a very simple chocolate cake for two with a Halloween theme, so let's begin. We'll be needing two mini cake pans. I'm using two 4-inch springform pans. You can use non-stick spray for this part, but I'll be coating my pans with a light butter coating with the help of a disposable paper towel. Once you've coated one pan, coat the second one and set aside. You can add a thin coat of flour if you won't be using parchment paper, or, as I'll be doing, use parchment paper. I'm choosing a large sheet to cover the entire pan, but you can also simply use parchment paper in the bottom of the pan. The butter will act as a glue for the parchment paper. Once the pans are ready, set them aside and let's make the cake batter. Into a large bowl, add the milk. Now add the oil, followed by the vanilla extract. Now add the vinegar and give that a whisk until the liquids have come together. About 2 minutes worth of whisking. Once that's done, sift in the flour, sugar, baking soda, and cacao powder. Sift it all into the liquids. Now whisk it all together just until everything is very well combined. We're done, so set the batter aside and let's prep the pans. I place mine on top of a baking sheet, just in case of an overflow. You can never be too careful. Now divide the batter between the two pans. I transferred my batter to a pitcher to make it easier to pour. Now give the pans a little tap on the countertop just to remove any air bubbles at the bottom. And let's bake! Bake in a preheated oven for 25 to 30 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which is about 180 degrees Celsius. The cakes are done when you insert a toothpick in the center of the cakes and it comes out clean. Once they're done, let them rest in the pans for about 10 minutes. Once the 10 minutes are up, remove the cakes from the pan. Mine are fairly easy to remove. If you didn't use parchment paper all over, remember to separate the edges of the cake from the pan using a butter knife or an offset spatula. Now let the cakes completely cool down. In the meantime, let's make the dark chocolate icing. Into a large bowl, sift in the powdered sugar, cacao powder, a pinch of salt. This will enhance the chocolate flavor. Now sift everything into the bowl. Now give it a whisk. Once the dry ingredients are well combined, add the room temperature butter. Now give it a whisk. Be very careful. Sugar tends to fly everywhere and anywhere. To help with the whisking process, add the vanilla extract and the milk. Now continue whisking. You can always protect your kitchen from disaster by using a clean kitchen towel or plastic wrap to cover the bowl as much as possible. Set that aside and in a double boiler, melt the dark chocolate chips. You can also melt them in the microwave in 30-second intervals. I don't have a microwave, so a traditional makeshift double boiler it is. To make a double boiler, I simply add a small amount of water to it, enough to fill the pot but not to touch the pan or bowl on top. I place on top a heat-safe bowl and melt the chocolate on medium to low heat. Now pour the melted chocolate into the chocolate icing. Whisk until everything is well combined. It won't look like much at first, but keep whisking. See how fluffy it looks? That's the texture you're looking for. Now it's time to assemble the cake. You'll need either a pastry bag or a plastic freezer bag for this part. I'm also using a large star tip, which I'm putting into the bag all the way down. Then I'll be cutting just above where the beginning of the star tip is. Push the tip to the top to make the cut and then push it back down. Now fill the bag with the chocolate frosting. Once the bag is filled, close the top and give it a twist. This will ensure the frosting won't come out over the top when you squeeze it. Now set that aside and let's assemble the cake. Make sure it has completely cooled down. Grab a cake stand or any plate you want to serve your cake in. I'm using a wooden cutting board this time around. If you use parchment paper, carefully remove it and place your first cake layer in your serving dish. Now frost the top of the first layer by gently squeezing from the middle of the piping bag. It doesn't have to be perfect. To keep the piping bag stable, hold the lower part of the bag with the other hand. Now, using an offset spatula or a spoon or a butter knife or even a bench scraper, gently distribute the frosting over the layer. Keeping the cake stable by gently placing your fingers on one side and keeping it in place. My cake isn't perfectly round on the edges because I used parchment paper all over the pan, but if you did the same as I did, don't worry, the frosting will make it look perfect in the end. Now place the second layer on top of the iced cake and cool for about 10 minutes in the freezer. This will help the frosting set a little firmer in the middle, so the top layer doesn't move around when you ice the rest of the cake. Now frost the rest of the cake. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Now, with the help of the spatula or whatever utensil you're using, spread the frosting all over the cake. Make it as pretty as you can. It'll take a little time, but we'll get there. I'm not doing a crumb coat, but feel free to do so. Once the cake is all frosted, pipe the bottom to cover the little imperfections. You can also leave it as is or decorate it with sprinkles. Once the bottom rim is frosted, I'm placing a few of these Halloween sprinkles at the bottom. I'm using cooking tweezers because I have them, but you don't need to be that extra. I'm topping my cake with a haunted house cake topper. And a pumpkin. This is all an idea. You can use whatever you want to place on top of the cake, or do something fun with the rest of the frosting. Cake decorating can be precise or fun and rustic. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. I was a professional baker with a small business for a few years, and I can tell you that my best creations were always far from perfect. Plus, time and practice makes perfect. And there you go, a Halloween-themed mini dark chocolate cake for 2. It's even good enough for 4 in our case. Feel free to get creative and make this cake idea your own, with your own designs. You can serve the cake right away or cool it in the fridge for a few hours before serving. I'm serving my cake with a autumn-inspired tea I bought at my local tea shop. Cake is always better with a warm drink in my opinion, although a tall glass of cold milk is always a classic. With that said, I hope you give this recipe a try. This is a fun one that can be customized to your liking in any season. With that said, thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video. Bye!